Tom Bower, the legendary royal author, is sharpening his quill for a new edition of his book set to reveal huge secrets inside Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's marriage.
There's nothing original here.
I hope you're having the best birthday you've ever had. Thank you for everything.
Which is really such a fake. When she was younger,
Hi, Nanny. I got an English award.
100% a bully brat.
I think when I was 30, if I thought about 50, I thought that is an awful long way away. And I don't really need to think about it. And then I blinked and I'm 50. That's crazy.
Why are we still here? Just to suffer.
I thought, is she not contextually aware? She's trying to hide something. This is really sloppy.
Tom Bower has just stirred up a major storm, and suddenly Meghan Markle's legal team is set to be scrambling behind the scenes. The well-known royal biographer, famous for digging deep into the lives of powerful public figures, has openly raised questions about whether the Duchess of Sussex may have been less than transparent about her age for many years. According to Bower, the information he gathered paints a surprising picture. His research reportedly includes magazine archives, university records, and accounts from people connected to Meghan's earlier years. When those pieces are placed side by side, he claims they reveal a timeline that doesn't fully match the story that has long been presented publicly. What makes this situation stand out is the type of material involved. Instead of simple online rumors or gossip, Bower points to formal records and documented details that he believes deserve closer attention. Reports suggest Meghan is extremely upset about the claims, especially because the discussion is now spreading widely across media platforms. Before getting deeper into the controversy, it helps to understand who Tom Bower is. He isn't known for quick headlines or flashy speculation. Bower has built a reputation in Britain as a serious investigative biographer.
He's absolutely ruthless.
This is Meghan's first trip to the snow. Dad took her up to Big Bear.
I think the palace and the machinery of the monarchy needs to take Harry and Meghan more seriously and make sure that Harry and Meghan's antics don't impact the future of
Meghan is living a life that she's winning and she's doing all these great things, but the reality is not that. The reality is she's a joke.
But what they need to do is face up to the blackmail that's coming from California and in some way or other undermine Harry's and Meghan's credibility.
That was her goal, #goal, to marry Prince Harry.
She's stuck because she was an actress who became a real princess who wants to be.
Over the years, he has written detailed books about figures such as Robert Maxwell, Mohammed Al-Fayed, Simon Cowell, and even King Charles during earlier periods of royal coverage. His projects are known for being thorough. Bower often spends years interviewing sources, reviewing documents, and double-checking facts before publishing anything. In 2022, he released the book, Revenge: Meghan, Harry, and the War Between the Windsors. The publication sparked major debate, portraying Meghan as highly strategic and extremely focused on advancing her place within influential circles. But one part of that book drew particular attention: the section discussing Meghan's early life and her Hollywood years. Bower's research looked closely at timelines connected to school records, career beginnings, and public appearances. According to him, when all those dates are examined together, some details appear difficult to reconcile. Meghan has long stated that she was born on August 4th, 1981, which would place her in her early 40s today. However, Bower says certain archive materials and older records could suggest a different timeframe entirely. In his interpretation, those details might point to an age range several years higher than what has been widely reported. If that interpretation were accurate, it would not simply be a small discrepancy.
An actress again, but has to continue to pretend to be a real princess.
There are so many telltale signs that something is clearly wrong with Meghan. And I don't mean it in a bad way, but I mean, how can you get your age so wrong? Did you know that in 1997, when she met Yasmin Bleeth, when she claims that she was working for Humphrey Yogurt, age 13, she also, or somebody with the name Meghan Markle, filled out a questionnaire for Sears, the company, claiming that she was 21 years of age.
It would mean a major shift in the biographical timeline that has been associated with Meghan's story for decades. That possibility alone has fueled intense discussion online, with supporters and critics debating what the documents might truly show. As Bower's claims began circulating more widely, reports indicated that Meghan's representatives moved quickly to respond and manage the growing conversation. The situation has now turned into another headline-grabbing chapter in the ongoing public scrutiny surrounding the Duchess, with observers watching closely to see what information might surface next. Now let's look at the detail that many people say sparked the biggest debate. In March 1997, 17 magazine published a feature that reportedly listed Meghan Markle as being 21 years old. That detail immediately caught attention because, according to the widely known biography, Meghan was born in 1981. If that date were correct, she would have been around 15 or 16 in March of 1997, not 21. That creates a gap of several years that critics say is difficult to explain. Tom Bower didn't simply reference the article and move on. According to his account, he went through the process of verifying it carefully. He reviewed physical magazine archives, confirmed the publication date, and checked that the article was authentic. After doing that work, he concluded that the listing was real and accurately printed in the magazine issue from that time.
Felt like the perfect day to address a theory that many people out there have been speculating on, that Meghan Markle has lied about her age. Is she actually older?
Now, when you Google her, it says that she was born on the 4th of August 1981. And with today being her birthday, as of me recording this video, it's saying that she's 44 years old.
From Bower's perspective, the situation raises a straightforward question. Either the publication made a significant mistake while identifying the age of a relatively unknown young woman, or the information circulating at that time reflected a different birth year than the one that later became widely accepted. But the discussion did not stop there. Bower also pointed to information connected to Meghan's early professional listings. According to his research, her IMDb profile once displayed a birth year of 1977, rather than 1981. That difference, he argues, adds another layer to the timeline conversation. Supporters of Bower's theory say the explanation could relate to how the entertainment industry often operates. In acting circles, age can influence which roles performers are considered for. Some observers suggest that younger ages can sometimes open doors for auditions and casting opportunities. Critics therefore wonder whether early profile listings might have reflected adjustments connected to career strategy rather than strict biographical accuracy. Bower claims he documented these details carefully and even preserved screenshots from earlier online pages to support his observations. For those following the story closely, that documentation has become another piece of the puzzle being discussed across social media and commentary platforms. The conversation also touches on Meghan's time at Northwestern University, where she studied theater and international studies. According to commonly referenced information, she completed her degree in 2003 at age 22, which aligns neatly with the birth year that has been publicly associated with her for many years. However, Bower says he took a deeper look into that period as well.
Of the picture says that it was taken on May 8th, 2019. And he was born on May 6th, 2019. Can somebody please explain that?
He reviewed alumni directories, examined archived photographs from campus groups, and attempted to contact individuals who studied there during the same time frame. During that process, he reportedly spoke with several former classmates and asked them about their own birth years. According to Bower's account, many of those individuals said they were born in the early 1970s and are now in their early to mid-50s. That observation raised another question for him about whether Meghan might have been closer in age to that group than the official timeline suggests. One particular photograph from Northwestern's Salsa Club has been widely discussed by commentators. In the image, Meghan appears alongside several other students during a club gathering. Bower reportedly reached out to multiple people who appeared in that picture and asked about their graduation era and age range. Those conversations, according to Bower, led him to believe that most of the individuals in that group belonged to the same generation, again pointing toward birth years earlier than the one often mentioned publicly. Supporters of Meghan, however, argue that college clubs frequently include students from many different age groups, so the photograph alone cannot prove anything definitive. Bower also spoke with people connected to Meghan's family background while researching his book. During an interview with her father, Thomas Markle, Bower asked directly about Meghan's birth year. According to Bower's description of the exchange, Thomas paused before answering and suggested that records should be checked carefully. That response immediately fueled speculation among those already analyzing the timeline. Critics interpreted the hesitation as unusual, while others argued that interviews can sometimes be misunderstood or remembered differently, depending on the context in which they occur. Bauer also contacted Samantha Markle, Meghan's half-sister.
Survival actress. You raised this extraordinary beginning of the year when she carved 2025 in the sand. And it's a very, very interesting image that it came out on New Year's Day this year, because the previous weeks had been absolutely turgid and torrid for her. She had been dubbed Duchess Difficult again. There have been allegations of bullying.
Tyrant, who was born in 1964, the commonly cited biography describes a 17-year age difference between the two siblings. However, Samantha reportedly told Bauer that their ages felt closer while they were growing up, and that the gap may not have been as large as people assume. Those comments have now become part of the larger debate that continues to swirl around the timeline discussion. Supporters, critics, and curious observers are all examining the various pieces of information, trying to determine whether the discrepancies represent simple misunderstandings, outdated records, or something more complicated. If Meghan was truly born in 1981, as the commonly repeated biography states, then the age gap between her and Samantha Markle would be about 17 years. That would mean Samantha was already a teenager when Meghan was born. But critics of the timeline point out that if Meghan's birth year were actually earlier, such as 1973 or 1975, that gap would shrink significantly to roughly 9 to 11 years. In that scenario, the two sisters would have been much closer in age while growing up, which some observers say better aligns with Samantha's description of their childhood dynamic. Samantha has suggested that when they were younger, the age difference didn't feel as wide as the official numbers suggest. According to her recollections shared with Tom Bauer during his research, the two were close enough in age that their experiences sometimes overlapped in ways that felt more like siblings within the same generation, rather than an older teenager and a young child. The debate then shifts toward Meghan's early acting career. If the widely accepted birth year of 1981 is correct, Meghan would have been around 25.
We've caught her in so many lies. Her own sister has come forward, her family, everybody is exposing the lies that she's been telling.
40 years ago, Meghan was born, and she was born as a C-section, so she was put in.
What the hell is going on with this woman? Is she adopted, or is she just a natural? I mean, is she such a liar she can't even understand that we can all see?
When she appeared as a briefcase model on Deal or No Deal in 2006. For many viewers, that timeline seems perfectly reasonable. The show often featured young women early in their careers, so a mid-20s performer would fit the profile easily. However, Tom Bauer says his research into Meghan's early Hollywood years uncovered a different narrative about the pace of her career. During the early 2000s, Meghan was auditioning frequently for small roles, background appearances, and short television parts. According to Bauer's account, she worked steadily but without major breakthroughs for quite some time. This kind of slow climb is not unusual in the entertainment industry. Many actors spend years moving between auditions, commercials, and small roles before landing something more prominent. But Bauer argues that the timing of those roles raised questions for him because the pattern, in his view, looked more like someone trying to extend opportunities at a later stage in the typical casting cycle. Casting professionals often categorize performers by age brackets when considering them for certain roles. Younger characters are typically cast from actors in their 20s, while older characters are offered to performers with more years in the industry. Because of that structure, Bauer believes the trajectory of Meghan's early career resembled someone working. Hard to remain competitive in a system that can shift quickly with age expectations. The conversation becomes even more interesting when discussing the television series Suits. Meghan joined the show in 2011, playing the character Rachel Zane. If she was born in 1981, she would have been around 30 when the series began filming. That age would still fall within the normal range for many television roles. But critics of the timeline argue that
why does her age matter at all? Because her age would also have an impact on her ability to have children. Because if Meghan Markle is 4 years older than what we have been led to believe, it makes it even more difficult to believe that she was able to get pregnant so quickly. Never mind the hysterectomy stories that her family have told. But
if she were actually several years older, it might have placed her outside the typical casting bracket for that character. Bauer suggests that possibility could explain why certain details about her background were presented differently during her acting career. Though supporters of Meghan strongly dispute those claims and say the speculation relies heavily on interpretation rather than confirmed evidence. Another moment Bauer examined in detail involves the birth certificate of Archie, who was born in May 2019. When the document was first filed, it reportedly listed Meghan under her full legal name, Rachel Meghan Markle, which is standard practice for official records. That version of the certificate followed the traditional format used in many birth registrations. However, the document was later amended, and Meghan's first and middle names were removed. The updated version identified her by her royal title instead. According to Bauer's research, changes like that are not common within royal documentation, which immediately sparked curiosity among observers following the situation. Sources Bauer spoke with suggested that the adjustment stood out because earlier royal birth certificates typically retained the mother's legal name. That unusual update led to speculation about why the change was made and whether it reflected a preference for emphasizing royal titles over personal names in official records. Bauer proposed his own theory in response to that question. In his view, removing the legal name might make it harder for researchers to cross-reference various documents connected to Meghan's earlier life. He suggested that records such as school transcripts—
Why the secrecy around this woman's birth certificate? Why the secrecy? Why the mistakes in age that are so blatant for others? And you know what? This is like her education in university, that she claims that she double major in international relations and theater, when Northwestern has never given a major in international relations.
Stupidly put out so many dumb lies, the car chase, etc., that now nobody believes anything they say. And that's scary and dangerous because it sometimes puts us off in directions that we need to be better about. But man, the more and more I look at and research this stuff, I'm not obsessed with these two.
Passport applications and older identification documents could become more difficult to trace if the legal name appeared less frequently in certain public paperwork. Supporters of Meghan reject that interpretation and argue that royal administrative decisions can involve many procedural details that outsiders may not fully understand. They say the change may simply reflect internal preferences within royal record-keeping, rather than any attempt to obscure information. When Bauer's book was released, reports quickly circulated about Meghan's reaction to its claims. According to individuals familiar with the situation, she was deeply frustrated by the allegations. Her legal team reportedly contacted the publisher and raised strong objections, describing the age discussion as inaccurate and damaging. Despite those legal responses, the book remained widely discussed. Bauer maintained that his conclusions were based on a large collection of records, archive materials, and interviews gathered during years of research. Because of that documentation, the debate surrounding the timeline continued spreading across online discussions and media commentary. Rather than addressing the claims publicly in detail, Meghan chose not to engage extensively with the speculation. There were no lengthy public explanations or major press conferences about the issue. That quiet approach became another topic of conversation among
little sis. I would have loved to have had siblings. That's why I'm so excited to be pregnant, that Archie has some.
I have to ask, is this woman crazy? Is she that much of a liar, or is there something deeper? Because just to give you another example, she claims that she was 13 years of age when she started to work for Humphrey Yogurt, in spite of the fact that Humphrey Yogurt has said that they have never employed anybody at age 13. Number two, she claims that when she started working at Humphrey Yogurt, she ran into Yasmin Bleeth, and that she congratulated Yasmin Bleeth for her deodorant commercial. Yasmin Bleeth didn't do that deodorant commercial until 1997.
Commentators who follow royal news closely. Some observers interpret the silence as a strategic decision meant to avoid amplifying controversy. Others believe a direct response might have ended the speculation sooner. Either way, the lack of a detailed public rebuttal allowed the discussion to continue circulating among audiences who follow royal biographies and investigative reporting. Bauer's research also touched on rumors that have circulated online for years about gaps in Meghan's early timeline. Some discussions even mention claims that she may have had an earlier relationship and a child before her widely known public life. In his book, Bauer does not confirm those claims, but he notes that certain periods of her early years remain unclear to outside observers. Importantly, he does not present definitive proof supporting those rumors. Instead, he points out that unanswered questions can sometimes lead to speculation, particularly when public figures have complicated timelines that stretch across different industries and countries. Toward the end of his investigation, Bauer avoids declaring a precise alternative birth year. Rather than making a direct statement, he lays out the documents, interviews, and archival materials he gathered during his research process. From there, he allows readers to examine the evidence and form their own interpretations. What Bauer does make clear, however, is his belief that certain aspects.
So she can recount the story and say when I was 12 rather than when I was 11. Because the commercial is out in the public domain, and I will leave the link for you guys to go watch it. It was done when she was 12 years of age. So there is something that is...
Aspects of Meghan Markle's public biography deserve closer scrutiny. According to his conclusion, the questions surrounding her timeline extend beyond a single detail and reflect a broader debate about how public figures present their personal histories to the world. Tom Bauer's investigation didn't just spark debate about a single date on a biography. According to his research, the questions surrounding Meghan Markle's timeline created a much wider conversation about how public figures shape their personal stories once they step into the global spotlight. For Bauer, the issue was never only about a birth year. He argues that when someone's public narrative becomes a central part of their brand, even small inconsistencies can attract enormous attention. In his book and interviews, Bauer describes how timelines can become extremely important when a person's life story is closely tied to their public image. For someone like Meghan, whose journey from Hollywood actress to member of the royal family became an international headline, every stage of that journey has been examined repeatedly. Supporters view that story as inspiring. Critics, however, say the details deserve careful verification. Bauer claims that once he started looking closely at the timeline of Meghan's early life, he noticed several points that seemed difficult to line up perfectly. School years, early acting work, and public profiles from different periods sometimes appeared to show slightly different information. None of those items alone would necessarily raise major concerns, but when Bauer placed them side by side, he says the overall pattern made him curious enough to dig deeper. That deeper investigation reportedly involved reviewing older publications, archived profiles, and documents connected to Meghan's early career. Bauer has explained that this
bring to the public of each and every country of which the king is monarch to clear up any doubts about anybody in the line of succession. Meghan's conduct is what has triggered all of this. Archie doing a deep dive between the knees. Archie competing with Tom Daley before he was even given birth to. Archie's unique qualities, and we need to remember that Archie was truly unique because his first word was crocodile. And Archie, of course, was the product of a union that maritally started when they were roasting chicken. And I leave it at that. But what I will go back to say, in terms without giving too much left.
Process is standard practice for investigative biographers. Instead of relying only on interviews or public statements, researchers often cross-reference older materials to see whether a consistent timeline emerges. The reason this approach attracted so much attention in Meghan's case is because of how visible her life has become since joining the royal family. Every aspect of her biography is now studied in ways that most actors or public figures never experience. That level of scrutiny means even minor discrepancies can quickly become topics of major public debate. Supporters of Meghan argue that this intense examination often exaggerates ordinary inconsistencies. Public figures frequently have early profiles that contain outdated or inaccurate information. Entertainment databases, magazine features, and promotional biographies are sometimes written quickly and may not always reflect the most precise details. From that perspective, supporters say differences between early listings and later biographies are not unusual.
Fairness, they do quote you and say Royal Author Lady Colin Campbell recently challenged the conspiracy of silence and misinformation surrounding books.
It's living a life that she's winning and she's doing all these great things, but the reality is not that. The reality is she's a
Critics, however, say the number of details Highlighted by Bauer makes the situation harder to dismiss as simple mistakes. They argue that when multiple sources from different periods point to different dates or ages, it becomes reasonable to ask questions about how those records were originally created. The discussion has also expanded beyond the age debate itself. For many observers, the larger issue is how celebrities manage their public narratives once they become widely known. In Hollywood, personal branding plays a major role in career success. Actors, musicians, and public personalities often work with publicists who help shape the way their stories are presented to audiences. That process can involve emphasizing certain achievements, highlighting particular life experiences, and sometimes simplifying complicated timelines so they are easier for the public to understand. Critics say that kind of storytelling can occasionally blur the line between marketing and strict biographical accuracy. Bauer argues that this may be exactly what happened in Meghan's case. According to his interpretation, parts of her early biography may have been streamlined or adjusted as her career developed in order to present a clearer narrative about her journey through Hollywood. He suggests that once those details entered the public record, they became repeated so frequently that they eventually solidified into the official version of events. Whether that interpretation is accurate remains a matter of debate. Many analysts point out that entertainment careers often evolve in unpredictable ways, and early biographies sometimes change as new information becomes available. From their perspective, revisions to personal histories do not necessarily imply intentional deception. Still, Bauer maintains that the timeline questions deserve attention.
We can't ignore them if they keep popping up doing stuff like this. That's the thing. We're kind of in a mutually abusive, toxic relationship, aren't we? The media and Harry and Meghan, because they keep doing stuff wanting attention. Then they get quite adverse reaction most of the time. Then they react really badly to the reaction. And so it goes on.
Well, what it really boils down to is the threat they offer. If the threat was punctured, which I hope my...
Because of the unique position Meghan now occupies in global public life. As a member of the royal family during her time in the United Kingdom, her biography became intertwined with an institution that places enormous value on tradition and documented history. Royal records, official announcements, and historical archives are typically maintained with extreme precision. Because of that tradition, any debate involving personal details connected to the royal family tends to attract intense interest from historians, journalists, and the public alike. That interest explains why Bauer's claims gained traction so quickly after the publication of his book. Once the timeline discussion began circulating, commentators across television panels, podcasts, and online forums started examining the same details he referenced. Each group interpreted the evidence differently, which only expanded the conversation further. Some commentators believe the controversy reflects the broader tension between modern celebrity culture and traditional royal expectations. In the entertainment world, personal stories are often shaped through interviews, publicity campaigns, and media appearances. In royal circles, however, biographies are expected to follow a far more rigid historical framework. When those two worlds collide, misunderstandings can easily arise. A detail that might pass unnoticed in Hollywood can become a major talking point when connected to royal history. For many observers, Meghan's situation illustrates how difficult it can be to transition from the entertainment industry into an environment where every personal detail carries institutional significance. Despite the ongoing debate, one thing remains clear. Tom Bauer's investigation has ensured
they've gone down dramatically, and I predicted it in the book, but even I would not have thought it'd be that accelerated. I think personally, they've separated their professional lives, but I think what's really a great problem for them now, as of in the last few weeks, is that Meghan has got no real income anymore. She's finished.
Right.
The Netflix series is over. There's no great podcast. They don't generate any money. And I don't see where she is going from here. I think she has a major problem. And I think as of this week, the signal for her great problem is that she turned up at Kevin Costner's.
That the timeline discussion will likely continue for some time. His book introduced documents, interviews, and archive material that supporters and critics continue to analyze carefully. At the same time, Meghan herself has largely avoided engaging with the controversy in detail. Without direct responses addressing each claim, the discussion has remained open-ended. Some believe that silence is a deliberate strategy designed to prevent the story from gaining even more attention. Others believe a detailed clarification could bring the debate to a close. For now, the conversation remains unresolved. Bauer has presented his interpretation of the evidence, while Meghan's supporters continue to challenge the conclusions he draws from it. As more commentators review the material, the debate has evolved into a broader question about biography, public image, and the complicated relationship between personal storytelling and documented history. Whether new information eventually surfaces or the issue gradually fades from public attention, one thing is certain: the discussion sparked by Bauer's research has already become another chapter in the ongoing global fascination with Meghan Markle's life story. According to Tom Bauer's interpretation, the questions raised during his investigation go far beyond a single detail, like a birth year. In his view, the discussion touches many parts of Meghan Markle's public story, including her education, family background,
media for the crashes of his relationships, never thinking that they could have something to do with himself. So he's a very complicated, depressed, unintelligent man who is seeking a role and has got really nobody on whom he could rely, which is in the end where Meghan stepped in. I mean, a needy man met a woman who could help.
Earlier relationships, and the motivations that shaped her path into royal life. Bauer suggests that the version of Meghan the public sees may be a carefully built image, rather than a complete reflection of her private history. Supporters strongly disagree with that assessment and argue that public figures are often misunderstood when their lives are examined under an intense spotlight. Still, Bauer maintains that the contrast between different records and timelines is significant enough to warrant closer attention from readers and observers who follow royal history. In his conclusion, Bauer describes Meghan as someone who has spent years crafting a powerful public persona. From his perspective, that persona presents her as a determined outsider who rose from Hollywood to global influence. Critics of Meghan say the narrative highlights her struggles and achievements in a way that helped build sympathy and admiration among supporters around the world. But Bauer argues that when investigators begin comparing older documents, archived articles, and testimonies from people connected to Meghan's earlier years, the timeline appears less straightforward than the widely known biography suggests. In his interpretation, the differences between those records create a picture that invites more questions than answers. The debate surrounding her age remains one of the most talked about elements of the investigation. Some commentators believe the evidence Bauer presented points to the possibility that Meghan could be several years older than the birth year that has circulated publicly for decades. Others insist the differences come from outdated listings, publication mistakes, or early career profiles that were never meant to be definitive records. Because of those conflicting interpretations, the exact number continues to be debated. Is she truly in her mid-40s as the common biography states, or could the timeline place her closer to the late 40s or even early 50s as some critics speculate? Bauer believes the documents he reviewed raise enough questions to keep the discussion alive. Until additional records are made public, the mystery surrounding the timeline is likely to continue. Some observers believe a clear official document could settle the debate immediately, while others say the controversy itself has already become part of the larger story surrounding Meghan's rise to international fame. What remains undeniable is that Bauer's research has reignited a conversation that many people thought had already been settled. By revisiting archived publications, speaking with individuals connected to Meghan's past, and examining historical records, he brought fresh attention to a topic that had largely faded from public discussion. Whether his conclusions are ultimately proven accurate or challenged by new information, the investigation has already added another dramatic chapter to the ongoing fascination with the Duchess of Sussex and the story of how her life unfolded before and after entering the royal spotlight. If you want to keep following stories like this and see what new details may surface next, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to turn on notifications so you don't miss the next deep dive when it drops. See you in the next one.